I think you know where we're about to start, but that CMO report that was recently published that you and I both commented on, somebody was nice enough, because I couldn't fill out all the form fields to figure it out, to actually get the report, but somebody else did it for me after they saw my comment and sent me the report. And so I got to read it. One caveat is that it was only for companies that were like 500 million and above, but all the reports look the same. The take home for me that I kind of want to hit on was the data point that 26% of total marketing budgets is spent on tech. And I'm just going to leave it right there for you, but that feels like a ridiculous amount of total funding allocated to that expense.
That is utterly outrageous. I'm
This is for a
sorry.
large company. Imagine this is like the billion-dollar organization, and let's just pretend, for sake of round numbers, they're spending 10% of revenue on marketing.
I mean, it's just absolutely outrageous. It's
$26 million on tech.
Yeah, I mean, it's completely fueling the narrative that they want to spell to you. You know, it's kind of like politics in that they're trying to craft a quote unquote strategic narrative. That's a great way to do it. And, you know, they're subtly making, you know, imperceptible changes to the way marketers think about spending money and going about acquiring customers. And they almost create this pit in your stomach, like, shit, I'm missing out. Right.
I'm not spending enough.
I'm not spending enough. Wait, I don't have the newest shiny new toy. Everyone else has demand base. We don't have it. We must not be doing the right thing. Oh, we don't have this software. Everyone else has it. Oh, did you hear that case study that came out with that company that's using that hot new tool? You know, whatever, XYZ, insert here. Oh, wait, we're not using it. Then guess what they do? They go and talk to your chief revenue officer. Your chief revenue officer comes to you and says, hey, this cool cutting edge, you know, all the best companies are using it. They hit me up. We're not using it. Are we like doing outdated techniques? Like, are we behind? And it's all from that one stupid data point. So everybody in the room, in the digital room, how, you know, be able to think for yourselves, man. Look at something and question it. Try to look at it objectively, and, you know, just don't take everything at face value.
Right on. Sort of in the same vein, because I know I think, at least, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that you've been piloting the tool, which is where we're going to start, which was Visible and multi-touch attribution modeling. There's several different like kind of roads that I want to take down, but I'll just kind of like, I'll just give you the floor on just the idea of that tool doing what it says it can do. Have you tested it?
Yeah, sure. So in fact, a huge SEO like emergency came up, and it took us like a while to solve it. So I completely took my focus away from Visible for the last like 2 weeks to focus on this SEO emergency. But we solved it. But anyway, another emergency came up too for us, which is something everyone on this call should be aware of. And it's if you have your phone number to sales posted on your site, and you want to track the effectiveness of people calling you, prospects calling you. So call tracking. And this was a completely kind of new thing, because I fucked up and I had assumed that we had it all figured out great. The reality was we didn't. And so what we wanted to say was like, damn, well, if someone finds us through an ad and then navigates to the pricing page and calls us from the phone number that's on the pricing page, how are we going to know what attributed that phone call? You know, how do we know if there's like, is there some ad group that's, you know, driving a ton of calls, which is converting into pipeline that we're just not able to attribute? So we're looking at a solution right now called call tracking metrics. And we're in the process of implementation right now for that. So I'll report back to you guys what I find out, but it's supposed to solve a lot of the call tracking problems that most SaaS businesses have, especially if you have a you know, a big ad budget and you're spending money and you're getting traffic that's calling you. So
Yep, I've used CallRail. which
Yep.
is a similar tool. The huge gap that I've learned on this one, so for marketers who are generating a lot of inbound calls, specifically on paid to understand ROI, or just in general, is that the agent that picks up the phone actually needs to start to document that contact, match it to the number in order for it to track. Otherwise, you're just going to have a random phone number in your CRM. So that's the caveat. Is this is an organizational behavior shift that needs to happen in order for that tool to work. But I believe in that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're right on too about the threat of, potentially creating tons of duplicate records in Salesforce, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever you use. So that's definitely something that we're looking to mitigate as well.
Yeah, I mean, to just hit on the multi-touch attribution and attribution modeling point. So it all comes down to your marketing model and how you should, and then that should determine how you decide to measure it, right? And so if you're doing a ton of brand, PR, organic, that type of stuff, the idea that you're going to be able to measure every single touch point and even be able to understand which touch points matter. The key is that if you're doing that type of work, each touch point doesn't matter. It really is the truth. Like, you're doing it because it's the accumulation of hundreds of behaviors and actions and interactions with someone that actually leads to the overall affinity that leads to the purchase, not one little touch point here and there. And so that's one that I find fascinating. If you're doing a mainly direct response, conversion based search to conversion, or even just search in general, like the desktop world, like though that is where those types of tools will probably be more effective.
I mean, yes, I agree. I think you nailed that one, man. Yeah. So if anyone else is going through this kind of thing, hit me up. If you got some expertise with call tracking, it'd be cool to just share notes on that. But it's new uncharted territory for me. We've historically done a bad job at doing it, and now we just got to get to the point where we know what's up. So I guess we can close out on that.
Cool. So just pausing here. If anyone has questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I know we had a bunch. I will dig through my email if we need to, but we will answer questions. The next thing on the agenda, and I mean, to be honest, it was kind of like my post this morning. I don't know if you saw it. It was like shots fired. So those that didn't see it, and I know some people commented and would love for us to talk through it. And on the agenda, just to be clear, it should advertising on Facebook be a part of your 2021 strategy. But I think it's interesting to kind of like talk through my post at a more global level, which essentially was like, and I'm being 100% honest here. Like from 2011 to 2014, I loved SEO. I built an e-commerce store in my bedroom from Amazon search ads, a little bit of Instagram, and then some like creative SEO. And it was most of the e-commerce sales direct, which was the highest margin, came from organic search. And then slowly transitioned away from it as it became a more competitive channel, as it became more mature, as I felt like the way that people were discovering products was happening in different places before they got to Google. And so I kind of made that shift. I understand from both perspectives, and I think it depends on each variation of your business. But the thesis of my post was I'm trying to win far before someone gets to Google. Like, I want someone to go to Google, or not even get to Google, message, DM me, or direct traffic, or click through our LinkedIn company page and go to the website. Like, you'd be amazed how many of these buying decisions happen before anyone even enters Google. And if there's a non-branded search happening in Google, yes, you should win there on paid or organic. But the thing that you should really know is that if it's an unbranded search, you haven't done branding enough, because they should be searching for your brand. And so, would love to just give you the floor. Obviously, you're a huge SEO advocate. Obviously, it works. Like, this is not a like sweeping statement that that one or the other is better, right? Like, you can get the job done in a lot of different ways. But yeah, I just want to hear your point of view.
Yeah. Oh man, there's so much good stuff in there, dude. I don't even know how I should start right now I have a gigantic ice cream sundae in front of me, and I got to figure out where I'm going to start eating from.
Oh man. Oh man.
So let's tackle a couple of a little bit at a time, I think, because this is such a huge one. So one is the notion that great brand can be potentially just as effective or more effective than non-branded SEO. That's one of the parts to it. So that one. I really do think it depends on where your audience hangs out. You should start thinking about the distribution strategy like before anything else. If I would say that if you have an audience that is like hyper active on LinkedIn, like you do, Chris, right? You'd be a fool to try and do SEO in the world that you're in. It's already dominated by HubSpot, by the pipe drives of all the sales and marketing.
Million HubSpot agencies that only do search.
Exactly. There's a million fucking websites out there doing SEO content about SEO, doing SEO content about marketing, doing marketing content about marketing, sales content about sales, all that shit, right? So you have no chance at winning SEO in those verticals if you're starting from the ground up. It's just like way too hard at this point. So what you've done, Chris, is actually you've done brand yourself for Refine Labs, right? And you did that through LinkedIn marvelously. And that's a way you can bypass SEO and just get right to buyers who are your target audience through a channel where they hang out more. It just so happens that just as many, prospects are, active on LinkedIn and participating in content threads and social threads, rather than going to Google and searching best, revenue ops agency focused on revenue ops, or however you brand Refine Labs. I think you position it as revenue ops or something like that. I hope I'm getting that right.
It's cool. No worries.
So demand gen agency, right? You can search that, and then guess what? Some SEO company, put together a massive list, rank themselves at the top, something like that. So let's just pause there because I feel like there's more to unpack, but that's just my take on like, should you go SEO or should you go brand, social, some other route to try and reach your customers?
Yeah. And another really interesting, and I framed this up to a potential company that we were working with, and I think it's a really interesting point, is that depending on how your customer views either you or your category should dictate how you approach your marketing. And so if customers in general view what you do as a commodity, and be objective about that. And so if I look objectively, the world thinks that marketing agencies are a commodity. And so if your target buyers think that whatever you do is a commodity, then you need to start winning on brand and organic.
Let me tell you something. What Nextiva sells is a commodity.
Yeah.
Major commodity. A cloud phone system, dude.
Hyper competitive, crowded space, lots of big companies. It's all, and this is in a lot of places, but all the products are converging on pretty much the same, right?
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Right? Exactly. And today, like, I had to meet with our chief revenue officer and explain like the science behind keywords that we're targeting, why we're targeting them, the ones that we're ranking for. And then we got to paid search, and he was like, so how much does this one cost? It was like, bingo. I was like, yep, this is $220.
Wow.
Cloud PBX for $220. Yep. Cloud phone system features for $140. So the space that I'm in is, you're talking about keywords that are upwards of, $120, $140 a click consistently. So the only way really to win is brand, because like you said, all the non-branded search is just, there's so much stuff out there. It's overwhelming.
Yeah. I got some companies in certain spaces where we're paying $40 to $80 a click. And even if you have the right funnel metrics throughout the process, it still might not be worth it. Right? Like, you still might not have the right payback. That money, whatever it is, let's pretend you got 100 clicks. So it's what, 4K? Let's just pretend for that, the sake of that. So you got 100 clicks, 4K, what's 1% conversion rate? And then through your funnel, you probably don't close that customer. So you spent $4,000. How could you better use that $4,000 on a different platform to drive a different result? Those are some of the debates that I have.
Yeah, exactly. And it goes back to the thing that, you know, in my industry, I just have to kind of accept. And that is companies are willing to actually go negative to acquire a customer
Hmm.
just so that we don't get them.
Yep.
And that's the reality of publicly traded companies with endless deep pockets that go up against the private companies who, you know, we don't have an infinite amount of money. So the answer for us is not always increasing ad spend or buying more technology. It's figuring out how to be scrappier and more agile. So
Hmm. Speaking of that, you posted on something, and we'll kind of go in a different direction here, but I agree with it a lot, which is that, you know, I've been talking about the 12-month marketing content calendar being dead
oh
for 6 years, you know,
yeah.
and the idea that you can know what content is relevant, especially given right what's happening this year. You think you could have planned this out in January, what content you'd be making right now? I don't think that I was planning to be on a Zoom right now. And so that I think is super interesting. And the idea that you can, that speed speed matters over everything. That like there's no reason to debate an adjective or whether or not the capital letter is correct or what color is right or which channel to run it on. Just go. Like the audience will tell you, and the learning is more important than the perfection. Because if you think about it, if it takes you 3 days to launch the campaign versus 3 hours, what happens when that compounds over 6, 12, 18 months?
Yep.
The learnings compound. And so I'm comfortable putting out videos that I think suck. Like I don't feel just telling you the truth. Like I don't feel great about posting them. I feel like, oh, is this the one where people are going to really hate me? And it never happens. And at least it hasn't happened to this point. I really hope it never does. But like that is, I think that we get our own sense of perfection gets in our way of moving quickly. So there's one about if you can get over the mindset of being able to move fast, that is the priority. The next thing is being able to orchestrate your team and your system in a way that supports that, right? And so I would love to hear
Mm-hmm.
a little bit about how you do it internally. I think this is a really big one for people, especially if you're in like kind of the SMB or fighting against a big competitor. Like this is how you get it done.
Yeah. I mean, I think you nailed it for sure. With speed can be your competitive advantage. A great example of this, Chris, is our landing page process. So there was a time in the past where I knew our design game wasn't as good as it could be or should be. And I knew that I could spend more time fussing over design versus just getting the landing page out and you know, let's start getting traffic to it. Let's start building links to it. Let's make it a live URL so that it's indexable fast, and let's just get it going, right? And we can always go back to them and redesign them and you know, upgrade them later. So we went through this process where we said, look, we're not going to give too much, you know, nitpickiness to the design process right now. We just got to get these pages up and ranking and getting traffic so that in 2 years they can become number one. And then we can redesign them and work on conversion rate optimization later. But we just got to move now because we got to get these pages out. And we went through that process in 2018. Fast forward now to 2020, the plan worked. We got, you know, pretty much all of the most important money page landing pages done. Ranking number one for almost all of them. There's still a couple left we got to hit, a couple big ones. And we just went through the process of like redesigning all of them. So maybe I'll do like a before and after for the group. I'll put it together for you guys and send it out, or I'll post it on LinkedIn. But you guys will see, you know, that's a testament to if we would have just fussed over design, it would have taken way longer. So that's just one example. But I mean, Chris, you're
Yeah.
spot on.
And I mean, I'm reading the comments too, and speed does not equal lower quality. It is about designing your process in order to work with speed and deliver a good product. And so I think that is, and then like you decide what is good, right? Or ideally the audience decides, but you will never figure that out unless you put it out and get the feedback from them. But I hear that objection a lot, like that, that because we move fast, it's not going to be good. And I just don't think it's true. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, yes, there might be a typo in the copy. We can fix that. Yes, like the ad may not be formatted perfectly. That's okay. We'll see it and we can fix it. Like the quote unquote like mistakes are not big deals. Like the audience doesn't even notice.
Hey
You
Chris,
just know. You just
can
notice.
you go through your post-production process? Can you like dig into that a little bit and share with the audience?
Okay. Yeah. So we'll pivot here and talk about post production. So
I just
um,
think that has to do with what you're talking about because you go
yeah.
fast, right? And so it's like learning about how you do that, I think would be super valuable because it would help people understand how to make high quality content quickly.
Yep. Um, so let's do it. This video will get done whenever we close out. One thing that I have a lot of people would ask me questions on, and I think I talked about this in the Demand Gen Live, but I'll just get it in here. Is that the Zoom is recording, but I have a HD, and the HD webcam is recording through Zoom, but behind it I have QuickTime recording in 1080p on the same camera. And so the Zoom is going to be 480 because it's going to send it over the internet. The QuickTime is going to be locally stored at 1080p. I actually need to eventually compress it to 720 in order to upload it to Box so that the editor can have it. But anyway, so the video gets done. We have the Zoom long form, and then we have the HD long form. I take both those clips, upload them to a Box drive. From there, the editor rips them down. We have a software like system in place that will see the inflection points in both of our voices. It'll automatically find where the best clips are. There will be a human element to find the key start and stop points. They will listen to the clip. They will put the headline on top. They will go to rev.com. They will upload the video, get the captions, add the captions into the video. They will then export it or whatever they do. All those files will go up into Box. I wake up the next morning or the day after. The files are there in Box. I can pick one. I rip it down. I write copy. I post it. Meanwhile, the long form audio is getting ripped. Like we pull out some of the we put the back and forth. We put the bumper on at the beginning and the end. That podcast will go up on the internet. But the same thing will happen for YouTube video, and that's pretty much the process. And so, but the key, I think the really interesting decision that I made, and this is back in like July of last year, is the first employee that I hired was a video editor. And that's just like the strategic decision that I made. And I don't think that many people would make that decision. And then the next person that I hired was, someone that did RevOps and blah, blah, and then I continued to build the team from there. But you have to be able to believe in the strategy enough to make that investment, because doing it yourself is not a good use of time. Is my point of view. If you need to hack it together to get the train moving in order to get there, then I understand that. But my feeling would be like as quickly as possible, have someone else do it.
Yeah, I agree. Don't spend time editing video. It's so hard and it takes a while. So
yeah. But that's the overall process in like a Zoom environment. Almost the exact same thing if we were in person doing a live event like I did with Justin Welsh. We would do I did one with Katano in Miami in January, believe it or not. And like with video editors, that type of video is super high quality. It takes longer to edit. It takes longer to get the clips, blah, 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 blah. But like the same whole process goes on. And then lastly, and it's a Katana, maybe you can help me figure out this concept, but it's like, if you're in the ecosystem, like I'm producing content, I'm doing work, I'm talking to CMOs every day, I'm talking to smart people like Katana and all of you, I am commenting on LinkedIn, I'm reading what people are saying, I'm seeing what objections people have, and I'm in the system where like I don't even really need to think about what to write about anymore. Like it's pretty baked in that I know what I don't know how to say it, but like if your buyer is not a marketer, then you need to be at that level with your buyer, which is hard.
Yeah.
Or you need to have an SME that is at that level with your buyer and is almost like with them.
Yeah. I mean, you nailed it, right? Like the reason why you're in it every day producing content and is because you have actually like work experience to talk about. Like, cause you are talking to CMOs, you are working with SaaS companies, you are in the trenches doing shit. Therefore you just know what to post about, because you can talk about real life scenarios that come up during the day to day. I think trying to create social media content, but you don't have much real experience to draw upon, that's kind of hard. because you have to summarize and repost other things that other people are doing. But there's no better way to know your customer, Chris, like the way you do it. Like you're in there in the trenches, posting about it, interacting in the threads, and it's just full circle. Like, performing client services, getting results, talking about it, sharing the learnings, getting more insight, repeating it again. And, now you're in a rhythm, man. You feel the momentum.
Smart companies are doing that.
Yeah.
And so like I had someone on the podcast, I think it was episode 58. You should definitely check it out. Super interesting perspective. I think the guy is years ahead of what other competitors in his industry are doing. But anyway, the idea of having subject matter experts that you hire inside of your company, like this was a cybersecurity firm. They had 2 like former chief information security officers, expensive people that browsed through the dark web, found what hackers were doing, produced content on it, pushed it out to PR outlets, got PR press for it, drove inbound demos. Those people also influence the product roadmap, sit on major sales calls and be an expert. Like that overall strategy is incredibly smart.
Yeah, agreed.
I think that those people exist in companies, but they don't exist in the marketing part of the company. And I think that as companies start to see that trend happen, more will do it that way.
Yeah. I mean, we have subject matter expert on our product and industry on the demand team. And one of his biggest jobs is to fact check us on our copywriting, on product descriptions, on FAQs, all those sorts of things to verify sometimes if we don't really know the accurate description of something, or all those sorts of things, anything that's related to the product or something super technical. Because voice over IP is it's not like you're talking about email marketing, where everyone gets it. It's technical, especially when you start getting into like on-premise PBX versus cloud PBX. It's like, it's so unsexy. But yeah, so we do have a subject matter expert that sits within demand gen, and that's one of his biggest jobs, is to fact check us and keep us honest.
Cool. Hope the little insight into content post-production was helpful. I'm not even sure how we got there. I thought we were talking about SEO, but here we are. Just to make the promise on the agenda, because somebody did ask, and their position, and the question was, should advertising on Facebook be part of your 2021 strategy? And their sense was no. And I can tell you, like at the moment, we push $500,000 or more a month through Facebook and Instagram's ad platform. We can strip out all of the political and social, whatever your objections are about that. It works better than everything else. Like, I don't know what else to say. And so, like we probably spend over $1 million a month between Google, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And I throttle channels because we are doing brand marketing. And so like you take the mix is the same. And then Facebook, you go from 500 a day to 5,000 a day for 2 days, and you watch what happens to the overall funnel, and you can see it. And when you push the gas, and I do the same thing on LinkedIn, and you can just feel it. And it's been a very interesting, especially when you have a broad set of companies, to start pushing on the gas in different ways and really start to see how the advertising makes an impact. I'm theoretically going to build a marketing mix modeling software for B2B built on the demo request conversion, because I think that would be fascinating. But that's kind of like what I'm doing in my head right now. But yes, like you should.
Right on. I mean,
if you're spending money on ads and you're not selling virtual event software, that you should be spending $250,000 a month buying the keyword term virtual event software, then you should probably be spending on Facebook targeting at your buyers. You might need to add a tool for targeting. Metadata does it, but now I've also seen that there are other companies that claim to do a similar thing. Haven't tested them, but in B2B, you're going to want the company firmographic targeting on top of it.
Yeah, this is a good topic.
Can I actually ask you a quick question on that?
Yeah.
So I work in a company where we do B2B and B2C. And so I've seen a lot of people saying that they're cutting Facebook out of their advertising game for 2021. Why do you think that is?
Because people bring their like emotional and political reasons into business. And I'm not saying that that's right or wrong, but that is the driver. It's not because of the performance.
So you think even though the bidding has got more expensive on Facebook, it wouldn't be worth it to go to other platforms like Pinterest and other places like that? You feel like it's still worth it to put the money into Facebook?
I mean, it's really up to you to test whether like Pinterest or Quora or Reddit or YouTube, like you can test all of those things in a B2B/B2C product. Most often AdWords is going to be net negative if you're trying to sell to B2B, because 99% of the search volume is going to be consumer, not business. And you're not going to be able to tell based on the keyword which one it's coming from. So those are what I call traps. Like, yes, the math works if you're selling the $10,000 B2B offering, but it doesn't work if you're selling the $60 e-commerce consumer product. And so AdWords doesn't feel like the right place depending on what you're selling. Like if it's LinkedIn versus Facebook, if you're going to spend money on LinkedIn, then you would do better on Facebook.
Okay, thank you.
Hope that's helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with Chris said. You just got to test different platforms and see if that works. It all depends where your audience hangs out. I would say, like it's something I said earlier in the call, just think about the distribution. If I'm a musician, I'm gonna target Spotify and Apple Music above probably YouTube, because YouTube's far more cluttered. But I mean, all the platforms and channels could work. So it just depends on where your audience hangs out. But Chris, we should pivot to the one that you commented on my post today about your sprints with your team are slightly longer than the sprints that I have with my team. So just basically the process of like how to run a demand gen team, and should we call out the fact that big fancy 6-month strategy documents suck and that we really don't agree with that method? I guess we could start there.
I mean, I think having a overall scaffolding, whatever your time frame is fine. It just can't dictate, like you have to be able to use data to adjust the plan. And so we have like a 4-week rolling plan. And obviously there are like key pillars, like, okay, we're going to do our user conference in November. Like obviously that's on the radar. But if you just look at like the core, like content engine, then it's a 4-week rolling timeline, knowing that, okay, on the first of the month, we're going to get 30 product ads, and we are going to pump those, the first 30 through. Over the next 15 days, we're going to get enough feedback to pass that back to the creative team. The creative team's going to know this messaging worked better, this background color worked better, this type of text worked better, people worked better than UI screenshots. They're going to be able to take that and continue to iterate. And so like, that's one example. Like they don't know what they're going to build until after the feedback happens. Additionally, like, okay, we want to do this case study, this blog post, this thing. Those are the things that we want to get done. And then as you go through, okay, well, this one case study worked really well. We have 3 more. Let's actually move those in. And so the idea is just that like the audience feedback and what you're seeing at the channel level and the business level dictate your next activities. Because I think that some people get caught in the, we have that webinar in 6 weeks. And then the idea of like, there's something sitting right in front of you, like these product ads are driving hundreds of demos a month, but we actually are going to take a step back and promote this webinar instead. And we're going to use all our budget to do it. So the idea that you can kill things and add things and kind of shift it around, I think is the key part of the strategy. And I think planning too far ahead gets you in the mindset of being less adaptable to change.
I mean, I agree with so much of what you said, particularly the lack of adaptability to change. I have seen scenarios where marketers were like just so focused on their own portion of what's due to contribute to that project. So then they get into the mindset of, okay, all I have to do is create writer's briefs for the writers, for example. That's my portion. I can speed through this, and then I don't really have to look at the rest of it because I did my portion of what's done. So I agree that some of that super long-term planning can create even like this siloed effect, which is weird because they just start thinking about what they got to do. But if you chop it down into weekly, you can be more adaptable, rather than the long month-to-month sprints. One example for us is our content schedule and plan is very agile, as I said. So when COVID came, we decided that, okay, based on a surge in search demand that we're seeing for remote phone systems and remote office phone systems, we're going to make it our new priority to rank number one for this keyword as fast as possible. So we literally all just focused on that. Like, we did the copy, we built the landing page, we all just went all out attack on building links to it. And within a month, we ranked for remote office phone system, got tons of great traffic for that term, brought tons of leads in, tons of pipeline, tons of conversions, all that stuff, right? So we capitalized on a moment in time because we were able to say, all right, like, we're not stuck in our ways of this webinar is doing 8 months or 8 weeks, whatever, and we have to plan for it now, or some user conference or virtual conference. So we just shifted to what the opportunity presented. So that's how we kind of think about our planning, and that's an example of how we've done it in the past.
And that's the way that I've always done it. It gets back to the same point of the idea of the volume accelerates the learnings. And if you're in the 12-month content calendar, then like oftentimes there's not a lot of volume going on in that type of model. There's no data to back that. I just see it in a lot of companies that plan that far out. It's like, okay, in November, we're going to do this blog post. That's it. Okay. We have one more topic on the agenda. I know that Katie has loved to jump in here. If there's any questions, would love to have those in so we can get to them. So yeah, feel free to drop them in. We got Gaetano here, and so we can kind of like go back specifically. I mean, whatever, but SEO, some of the things that I'm not as skilled in the actual super details. But the last one that I think that I saved this topic for like 3 weeks, but somebody heard it on some podcast. I think it was you, Katie. Somebody heard this on one of the podcasts that I was talking about. I don't know how I got on the topic, but I've seen it happen before, and I continue to actually just like anecdotally see it a lot, which is that when companies have when they start to build too many sales reps into their model, they start to need to do things in marketing to keep the reps busy, and the cycle starts to feed itself. And so the thing to break down here is how an overweight, you can call it however you want, but overweight sales team forces marketers to get stuck. And so like, I know exactly, like, I know the feeling where you have 12 inbound SDRs and you need 1,000 MQLs a month to keep them busy. And you're trying to change to brand marketing or something like that. Or you're trying to change to a different marketing model. And then, most of the way through the month, you're at 100 MQLs, and what do? What are those people doing? And then marketers get forced to go back to the same shit they were doing before because the company's built around that system running.
Dude, I faced this problem so many times. It's one of the worst ones to face because it actually triggers bad marketing behaviors. And this one just, it pains my heart so much because
I know.
Like, here's an example, right? Let's say that you have free trials and you have demos. You have two main calls to action on the site: get a demo or try for free. And when you have try for free, you get a lot more volume at the top. So you get a lot more entries for free trials, but very poor conversion rates on those trials. Very, very poor conversion rates. Like, let's say less than like 5% convert. And so what you had was a situation where all those free trials in this lead scoring process were automatically, qualified, and it goes right to BDR. And like you're saying, they're just having a lot of conversations happening. There's just a lot of conversations happening. But meanwhile, the executive team's like, hey guys, we're noticing that demos are converting way better than free trial. So we have to try and get more demos. So what does marketing team go do? Hey guys, let's go radical. Let's take free trial off the site entirely. because they're not converting great anyway. And it's just creating this soft Band-Aid illusion effect that, sales is busy because shit's happening at the top. So guess what? You chop the free trial away. Now everyone's got to go to demo because that's all there is. You get incremental lift in demos, which is good because you see more pipeline from that, right? Better conversion rates. But what happens suddenly? Hey guys, sales is starving. They don't have enough juice at the top. Should we put free trial back? So, it's this cat and mouse game of how busy do we want. Now, here's the thing too. Now, this is a curveball, right? If you have a really long sales cycle, like let's say it's a year-long sales cycle, this actually might not be a bad thing, because you're at least engaging early in the process at top of funnel, but then you're just going to have really inflated opportunity in your CRM. So you got to be real strict about saying, if you have one of these very early intro convos with someone, you shouldn't be marking it as like a viable opportunity yet.
The key though is that you are designing your marketing around your sales organization, not around your customer. Right. And
that's the bad
that is the bad part. We have all of these people. We need to feed them leads, more leads.
Yeah. And it creates
regardless of how customers feel, regardless of how they convert, regardless of the outcomes, it's more leads.
Yep.
I had this exact same situation at my last company, and we felt the exact same way, Chris, that you talk about all the time, where it's like you're on that hamster wheel. And I even had like the SDRs coming to me and being like, can you help me write cadences? I need more leads. I just can't keep up. And what happened was we ended up having a conversation with the revenue organization and getting the revenue team to understand a customer-centric approach, right? And so we were able to basically say, well, you're just going to not have marketing leads that are not good quality leads. And you're going to do super targeted ABM. And if you don't have the right SDRs to do that, you're going to get new SDRs, right? And so finally, we got off the hamster wheel, and then we could actually focus on the stuff that was going to work. And so I think, to me, that's the only answer. I don't know, Chris, if you think that there's another answer to.
Gaetano, have you heard this? I don't know if the right term is analogy, but this thing that I've been saying recently, which is the performance marketing lead gen hamster wheel, where you just get stuck on it. And you're spinning your wheels, creating a lot of metrics, creating a lot of activity, and actually going nowhere. Yeah. So, Katie, to answer your question, the process is hard. It's hard to make this change, and as the organization gets bigger and has more people, it gets even harder. And so that's why it's great to solve this when you're at 30 million instead of 300 million.
Yeah.
And so,
or just change them to something else. Don't cut them off, but repurpose them in the company for something more valuable.
The process that has happened, at least what's happened for me, this is not the only way, but you have to fix the inbound quality problem first. And so the first thing is setting expectations that the SDRs are going to go outbound. They're going to have to go outbound because the leads are going to go down. And then at that point, it's going to expose the low efficiency of that team going outbound.
I have an interesting alternative to it. And it's, you could turn them into live chat agents.
Mm-hmm.
And their new job is live chat.
And then if you can get the inbound quality up to a level enough where they can go directly to account executives, which is 100% achievable if you do the right things, those meetings, those demo requests converting to meetings and meetings sat with an AE on first touch between 50 and 80% is 100% achievable. I do it at dozens of companies. And then you don't need the SDR touch because, in fact, they're the right people. And the 5-minute follow-up time that was published by, I went back and looked at this, by the way, because I believe this and I see people continue to quote it, which is that the chances of you closing an inbound lead go down dramatically if you don't follow up within 5 minutes.
Yes.
And then you look at who published the report, and it was an outbound SDR firm.
Well, I actually have data to back that up. It is true. For our industry, it is true. I think it depends on the industry.
I think it really depends on how what the lead is.
Yeah.
Like, how do you define the lead? Like, if it's a content download, you better follow up in 5 minutes.
Well, that's not a lead. So that's a contact.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I get it.
Chris, I got to cut out early.
Cool.
I'm going out to dinner with my little brother, but everybody have a blessed night and a beautiful evening. I hope to see you all again next week. Chris, thanks for having me.
Nice, man. Enjoy your dinner.
Katie, good to see you as well, and everyone else. Matthew, what's up? A lot of return people coming back. So George, what's up, buddy? Yeah. So, I don't know what else to say. Have a great night, and I'll miss you guys.
Yeah, man. We'll keep it going. Have a fun dinner.
Peace.
See you soon. And so when the SDRs start going outbound, typically what's going to happen is that you're going to shrink the team size, or you're going to find new people. But the team is going to have to shrink because the volume's not there and the efficiency isn't low enough. And so that's typically what I find. But if you have a large organization, then that process can take a long time, if at all. And so that's what I found. I have discovery calls with companies that are $1 billion ARR and are on the lead gen hamster wheel. Like, this is not a small company, big company thing. This is people getting sold propaganda about that leads and cold calling leads that don't ask to be talked to is the right way to sell stuff. And it might've been the way to sell stuff in 2004. And people might've had success with it in 2007, but buyers have control. I've beaten a dead horse on that topic before, but that's what I see.
Since you're on that topic,
let's just go AMA. Now that Katana's out, I'm down with it. Everyone throw in jump on. Let's go.
So should I go ahead?
Yeah. Let's do it, Prince.
Okay. Since you're on the topic, how would you suggest to organize it? When we are just doing it from the scratch, even without SDRs, if you will, or what is the right balance?
How much does your product cost?
Well, those are some services priced at $10 per session per person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I would calculate how much you would make if on the average customer that stays with you for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's less than, I would say $15,000, you're going to need a full cycle rep, especially if you're trying to run the company profitably. You're going to have one person that can do both of those. And then the second thing that I would offer is that, like, if you lean into marketing enough, like, you don't need that many sales reps or SDRs. Like I'm the only sales rep. We will be able to get well over 10 million, probably close to 15 with only one sales rep.
That's where I was getting to. Like, I sent you a question, how would you suggest to drive sales without having any SDRs, just focusing on marketing and branding? If you have automated routines, it's a service that people can just go onto the website, they can register for a session, and bam, we have a meeting set, and they pay advance. So there's not really a funnel or a cycle to follow
Mm-hmm.
through.
We're getting into some consulting here. It's just my point of view. It's literally just how I like to run businesses, and it's up to you to take it however you want. But I prefer to have a premium differentiated offering than a low cost, high volume offering. I just think that it just works better. And so I would challenge you to try and figure out what is the specific thing that you do that's really good, figure out if it can be repackaged, and how it's unique, and then figure out how to price it at a higher level through branding, execution, customer success, those types of things.
Thank you. That was very valuable.
You got it, Prince. All right. You can blame predictable revenue. I know, Jonathan, we are 100% aligned here. They still do it. And cool. All right, somebody else jump on. Ashley, you got something? Otherwise, I'm sure that I can find something.
No, I have to hug a child goodnight.
Okay. Oh, Rich, you got something. Come on here.
Yeah, I do. Hey, everyone. It's good to be here. I'm B2C.
Hey, man. Good to see you.
You too, definitely. I'm really happy to be here because I have no experience. Like I've literally learned acronyms from you. But for everyone, just so you know, I do video production for executives who don't have time. So everything Chris does, I do it for people like Chris who have no experience on camera, who don't know what to say and all that. The what I wrote Chris earlier was a problem I'm running into, which is I'm now in a position where I'm able to kind of select better clients. I mean, I have just amazing people I'm working with, and there's a couple that are, I would say, not as collaborative, meaning they don't post on time, or they don't, or they don't provide the copy on time and things like this.
Mm-hmm.
So my question was, do I continue to market in the way I'm doing it organically in order to continue to find those better clients, so to speak, or should I just really invest heavy in those relationships with those less than ideal clients that I currently have, if that makes sense?
Do you think that it's an either or?
I was thinking about like, okay, yeah, why not both? And we're not in a rush. We are very well off, and I just want to really, I'm still like in a proof of concept kind of scenario, but we are delivering, but it takes up a lot of time, those other clients.
When you have multiple customers, usually the ones that pay the least, take up the most time, and are the least unhappy are the same cohort. They're usually all the same. Yeah. And so like you have plenty of options. The first one is that you can tell the people, look, this isn't working. We need to change X, Y, and Z. If we can't change it, then I'm actually we have an out clause where we can leave the client relationship if it's not working. Sure. And we've executed on that before. I think that's the right thing to do. Yep. And I think that is, if done appropriately, they'll say good things about you for telling them that. And so that's one option. There's another option that I think is I've done everything that I'm about to tell you I've done, including that first one. The second one is the idea to mentally make the shift in your head that not every customer is going to be with you forever, especially in your type of business. And so some customers are just meant to bridge you to the next phase. And so if you can make the switch and be like, okay, this customer is going to be with us for 6 more months. I'm going to do this stuff because, wow, that's happening. I'm going to continue to be marketing. I'm going to be moving up market. I'm going to be raising my prices, whatever those things are, that then you can start to move them out of your client base at some certain point. That's happened with customers that we've worked with before, and they're happy and I'm happy. And it's not like it worked out badly. It's just like, there's not every customer is going to be 100% in. And then the last thing to think about that I've gotten much better at as of recently, because we're in the same position of you, is we're good. We're getting ready to hire 4 people. We have a lot of inbound demand. We can basically hand pick who we work with at this point because we have too much demand for the amount of capacity that we have. And so the idea of asking the hard questions up front and just being very committed, the way that I do it is when I have the first conversation with the marketing director, that's we want to run email nurtures and lead scoring, and we need 10,000 MQLs. And I can just send her the email afterwards and be like, I don't think that it's going to work working together, and just leave it at that. Because I know that me bringing in that, whatever it is, $10,000 a month, and that churning in 3 months does so much damage to my team that it's actually net negative, that they get distracted, morale gets hurt. It's my responsibility to bring in the right customers that are going to be successful, or any other person that's running the business or doing sales. So those are some ideas. What do you got? We can go back and forth.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said all that. So I practice those, and I see a lot of questions or comments in here about expectations. The expectations, I mean, we are beyond transparent. I think once they get into the thick of it, they're like, wow, this is a commitment. And that's just one thing, but I appreciate the comments. What I wanted to say is the intangible here is that we have made some hires, and they were 1099s, and then we're like, great, we're ready to actually hire part-time now, W-2s. But we realized that we were not offering what I would say is a competitive salary. So for me, that's extremely important, because I don't want to waste time, bringing on people, onboarding people, and then just being like, wow, this isn't a good fit, because in our infancy, we've had not so great experiences. So that's why I'm kind of willing to hold on to some of these and really try and push it. But I just kind of battle with that. The more I listen to you and Dave Gearhart, is, the sales and marketing, how they collide sometimes or are ineffective is an issue. And that's just personally where I am, but
How
that's the
many?
intangible.
I can't ask you both questions at once because then everyone would know how much revenue you have. So I'm gonna have to pick which one. How much do you charge a month for your stuff?
We start at 2,500 a month.
Okay. It's like video production and some LinkedIn stuff and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, just like
So-
a certain amount of videos, and then if they fly us out, then we'll go, and that's a different thing.
Mhm.
That's like a day rate and all that, and then
Yeah. So it's sort of you're not going to get there overnight, but I'll tell you a funny story, and I am incredibly grateful. It changed my business when somebody did this. Is that last year I was going into a proposal. At that point, we priced somewhere in the 4 to 6K a month range, because like we didn't have a ton of customers, and I didn't know I didn't know that there was so much trash being sold at much higher price points, and so I went into a deal, and we ended up winning it. I bid 6K a month, and the decision maker called me after he signed the document, and he said, "So we got 3 proposals. We had you at 6K, another one at 15K, and another one at 22K. What the fuck are you doing?" And that was the thing that showed me, and they chose us not because of price, because they thought we were better. And then that completely changed how we priced the model. And then once we changed how we priced the model, our hiring changed, because so now we pay 20-30% above market value for people.
Yes.
And so I think that really is, especially in a people-centric business, that is the key. Like you're essentially selling people and strategy and talent. And so that there's only a couple different levers you can pull, and pricing. So figuring out either how to get more share of wallet, how to sell more IP. Like the people pay us like money to push the buttons, but it really is ultimately the strategy and getting them to where they want to go. They're paying us for the knowledge.
Yep.
And so figuring out a couple of those things, raising the price and then changing the hiring profile, I think is the key.
Got it. No, that makes a lot of sense. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you got it, Rich. Happy to help, man. Good to see you.
You too.
Cool. We got some questions in here. Anyone can feel free to jump in. Let's see.
Hey, Chris, it's Dana. Can you hear me?
Hey, Dana. Yes, I can. What's up?
I hate when people say that, but I said it anyways. Just a quick question as you're talking about the business. Do you attribute most of your leads to this podcast, or how did you sort of, not decide to make the leap, but how did you get to X, we'll say? Is it from this, or did you start cold calling at first, we'll say, quote unquote, and then switch to this?
Yeah, it's super fascinating. If we go back to the beginning, is that like I don't care about attribution, and so like I do have a sense of we only do so many things, and out of the things I know which are the ones that are driving the results, just because I'm in it, I can feel it. And I'm proud that we have never made a cold call, have never sent spam outbound emails that are cold, do not spend money on advertising, do not have sales reps. Like, I'm proud of those things. And when we think about what's driving the impact, like it was initially LinkedIn, text-based LinkedIn. If we go way back, it was comments on LinkedIn. I got my first 2 customers based on comments I wasn't even posting, and then posting text, and then moving to video. And the way that I got to video was doing free consulting calls and filming my side. So people would message me based on my text post and say, "Hey, I'm working on Facebook ads. I need help with this." And I would take the call for free to create the content. And then we were continuously on video. And then I started to do live events. I did one with Josh Braun and Justin Welsh and did high production video there, and then chopped the video up. And that truly, like, yes, there's a content marketing play, but that is a smart B2B influencer marketing play. Like, the exposure that Josh Braun and Justin Welsh provided to me was incredibly valuable. And I also provided them value in exchange, a high quality video, a lot of awareness. It was a win on both sides. B2B companies should take advantage of that type of model. Obviously, events got shut down. I was going to do an event in San Francisco in March. I was going to do an event in Austin, Texas in April. Both those things got shut out. We moved to a Zoom. When we moved to the Zoom, initially we, didn't have our process in place to like record it or chop it or do anything like that. We turned it quickly into a podcast. So the podcast started in like March. You can go back and check when the first episode, March, April timeframe. And then I've continued to push out that content on podcast and LinkedIn, and doing this live. But this live is a content pillar, and the podcast includes me being guest on podcasts, this event, live recorded events, me hosting people like the smart person from the cybersecurity company that's taking advantage of PR, which is very different. So if I find someone that's doing something unique or interesting that I think the listeners would find valuable, then I'll bring them on and I'll play host. And so that's kind of like the overall strategy. What is driving the business is just the ability to create good content and distribute it. And so LinkedIn has become the core distribution channel, but LinkedIn of micro content, but is also the user acquisition to long form podcast. And so there's like a cycle: create podcast, chop it up, post it on LinkedIn, get new podcast users, go through the whole motion again. And once you get to a certain amount of listeners on the podcast and you have good content, the listeners do the acquisition for you. The listeners share their podcast with other people. And then you have like multiple streams of acquisition happening, all organic. But it all starts with having the right content pillars and knowing how to distribute it initially.
Cool. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Cool. Yeah. Happy to answer a follow-up if you have one. I'm not sure that I covered the entire question, but
maybe a topic for offline or something.
All right. Yeah. Anytime.
Cool.
Chris, on top of that, I think is interesting because you get like a gut feel because you get feedback, right? Through comments and direct messages and people coming here and giving you feedback, and your customers giving you feedback when they sign up because you have a sales team. So I think like something I've realized is like companies don't often, or marketers at larger companies don't have that feedback loop because the feedback is going to the CS person or it's going to the salesperson. And so the marketer, unless they put something in place like reply to this email or something, or they have really deep relationships with their customers or their team, which I've tried to do in the past, but even then at larger companies, it can get hard to really get true feedback. You lose that. And I think that makes it difficult to know what branded elements of your plan are really driving some of the success. So curious if you agree with that or disagree with it.
Yeah, this is the idea of being a full stack marketer, and not a full stack marketer like you know how to use every channel, like full stack product marketing, brand, content, digital, and product marketing, customer research, like the upstream form of marketing. It's what's lost in SaaS because they created a different function for product. So none of the marketer becomes Marcom. That's what marketing is in a lot of SaaS organizations. And you can't do Marcom well if you don't understand your customers. And so I've been in this situation multiple times at venture funded companies. Like the way that you get the feedback is not by going to the CS person and asking them a question. It's by going to the customer. And so I spent time inside of hospitals, watching people use the product, asking them questions, talking to thought leaders, interviewing thought leaders on the podcast. I was doing video podcasts in 2016, interviewing thought leaders for the podcast, learning from them, and then taking their thoughts and going and figuring out how to message them, and then go and talk to real end users and see what they think, and then try and put that whole story together, and then ask them about what they think about the competitor's product. And so like the whole idea of being in the ecosystem of your customers and your prospects and thought leaders, just the market, like that's marketing. I feel like that whole piece is lost, and it just becomes push, communication, lead gen, which is where a lot of companies, kind of put their marketing team.
How do you just decide I'm going to go hang out at a hospital today? How would you decide that I'm just going to go hang out at a hospital today to follow some people around? Like I can jump on calls with some salespeople and shadow them, but I couldn't imagine just saying, see, for this week, I'm just going to go and spend time at a hospital.
Yeah. I mean, we sold a disruptive product into ICUs and emergency rooms. So maybe you didn't have the backstory, but that's the reason that I was there, is because that's where the product was used. This is like 4 or 5 years ago. But it comes down at the CMO/executive level, how they decide to structure the team about where that responsibility sits. And so in companies that have a more like classical marketing structure would be both upstream and downstream. And so like product management, which is like for hardware companies, product management reports into the CMO. And that doesn't happen in software companies for a variety of different reasons. But in companies that are committed to this, like when travel's allowed, I had a budget that was allocated. Like the VP of marketing had allocated, what was it, $10,000 a quarter for me to travel and talk to customers and thought leaders. And so I'm very grateful that happened. I don't think a lot of, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't think a lot of companies think that way. And I think that it's a huge unlock. And this can be replicated virtually, right? But I especially if it's like a physical product, like it's there, I could feel what it was like for them at 2 a.m. in the ER. Like it helped my messaging, it helped my advertising and different things like that. So I believe in it the most. Yeah.
I can definitely see the benefit in it. I guess it was more how you can pitch to the company to let you go and do that kind of work rather than go and get some leads.
So this is sort of, and I'm not sure I'm going to give you the most helpful answer here, but like it comes down to like finding the right place. So I was just lucky to be in places that helped me do those things when I didn't know how to do them, which was very lucky because now I do. So I was very lucky in one that actually several before that told me to do that. And then I got to it and did the benefits. And then I got into a Series A venture funded company that told me to do, lead gen without ever talking to a customer. And we generated a bunch of leads, and I spent 4 months building a website that didn't resonate with our customers. We didn't know our ICP. We didn't know our messaging. And when we didn't have any results, I took a step back, when visited, 30 customers over a 2-month period of time, completely retooled who we sell to, how we message it, what's the unique selling proposition, how we price it. And like, that is what's lost in a lot of Series A type of companies, is they don't create enough space for a strategist to figure those things out.
Thanks.
But yeah, it's just like it's hard. It really depends on how your relationships with the executives and what type of company you work in. A lot will say no. Cool. All right, everyone. Time for one. We got one more in the house. Let's see if I can find here. So George has one here, and then I'll give everyone some time so one person can slide on the video and grab one more question. But George had a quick one. George, just curious, Chris, how many companies are you seeing that actually have someone that goes out into the field like you did? George, this is a difference by industry, really. And so if you look at certain industries, they do this a lot, specifically medical device, because medical device, typically marketing will drive clinical story, product strategy, customer research, strategic narrative. Like marketing is the strategist inside of most medical device organizations. And there's a field-based, it's a hardware type of product that's in the field. And so that's where I initially learned it. It ultimately comes back to what marketing framework you report under. And that's the one that I'm talking about is a variation of the pragmatic marketing framework, which covers full upstream, downstream, from, competitive research and positioning and different things like that, all the way to sales enablement, training, tools, channel partners, go to market strategy. That's marketing in my view. Cool. One more. Any takers? Nuam? All right.
Someone just posted something in the chat.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
okay.
Abai, get on here. Like
Hey,
seeing
what's
ya.
up?
What's up?
What's up, Chris, and everybody here? It's good to see everyone. Quick question around podcast strategy. You have thoroughly convinced me about the importance of a podcast as like the central pillar of a content strategy, and we're underway with it. My question is that we sell to marketers from a few different industries. We're a verticalized SaaS company.
Mm-hmm.
We sell to marketers at associations and nonprofits. And we also sell to marketers from like for-profit event organizing companies.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a little bit of overlap in that a lot of associations run events too, but marketers at associations doing a lot of other things besides that. But all that to say, there's a little bit of overlap, but they're basically different audiences. And so my strategy so far has been to create a podcast around one audience, say our association marketers audience, and then maybe another one down the line for like our event organizing company marketers audience or our event marketers audience, just so that we can go really deep and like have really every episode resonate with the members of that audience. But another path could be to do some kind of roll-up podcast that has content for all of our audiences, and maybe just a kind of mix, and maybe not every episode resonates with every person in the audience, but maybe it's a little bit simpler to manage. You don't have multiple podcasts. I'm just kind of curious for your thoughts around those different approaches there.
Mm-hmm. I like being more specific, especially initially. So like this one has, I mean, I know people are here from different backgrounds, but like the topics discussed here are pretty much like SaaS marketing topics. I know that we get salespeople. I know that we get marketers from different industries. And so like, but the topics are well formed. And so maybe there's a way to get that between your two, which is like, I don't know, events or nonprofits with events kind of mixed into it. Maybe you can figure out a way to make it work, but if you haven't found a way to make it work thus far, then it probably won't work, right? And so if that's the case, then just pick a direction and go. Like we have the podcast running. Ultimately, other people on my team will have their own podcast. They will have their own content pillar, and maybe that will roll up into one in the future. But like we made this decision like less than a month ago, where someone else was like, I want to start a podcast. Should I do it underneath the State of Demand? Should my episodes get published on State of Demand Gen, or should I do my own? And I was like, we cannot mix sales and customer success and account management and customer support all into this podcast. It's the State of Demand Gen podcast, right? Like if you actually mix stuff in, you don't resonate with anyone because the episodes are too kind of in different areas. So I like the idea. And then from just a general podcast strategy, you can focus on your topic or you can focus on your audience. And so you could have the nonprofit podcast, the nonprofit marketers podcast,
right? Or
you could have the nonprofit events podcast. And so the event is more of a topic. The marketers is more of the audience way. Both of them can work. But I like the idea. I like the idea of picking. It's kind of like, it's just a feel I get based on how you ask the question.
Cool. Thanks for the feedback.
Cool. Happy to help. All right, everyone. This has been fun. Appreciate all of you. We got to see Gaetano again. I know that people have been, messaging me questions. At this point, email is actually like, so I'm getting a lot more in DMs. I just literally can't keep up with the DM. And so email will be better. Like I can actually print it out and have it like right here. So if you have questions in the future, would be happy to answer them. If they're quick, I can try and just like answer them on the fly. But always love seeing you all. Really happy that it's helpful. This will go up on the podcast Wednesday afternoon, Thursday morning on YouTube, tomorrow morning, so you kind of get the sense. The last thing that I'm thinking about, and I've kind of said this before, but I don't think I've said it in this way, is like over time, like what I do is I look at what other like obviously some of my things are unique in how I do them, but it's almost like I take a core piece, like I see this Instagram ad and it works on me, and then I figure out how to move that into my model. And so like some of this stuff, like the overall structure is quite simple. Like if you're selling to nonprofits, you could take almost exactly the same structure that what I do and repackage it for your audience, and I would be thrilled. And so it's when you simplify marketing to like true just digital content execution, like there's not that many ways to do it. And so I would suggest if it's something that you think would work for your audience, go and take it from me. Or I'm not the only one doing this. This is not super unique. So just wanted to kind of leave that out there. Hope it was helpful. Appreciate seeing you all. Hope you have a great night, and hope to see you again next Tuesday. See you, everyone. Thanks.